Alright, good day everyone. Welcome to class 2. Should I call it class 2? I don't know. Well, okay. Just next lecture, like second lecture on front-end development. So last class, I think I spoke about, I spoke about web development in general. Then we focused on front-end, and then we compared front-end development to the structure of house, the work of the architect, and how they can choose to set these various components that are general with all buildings in any design that they choose, in any design that comes to their mind. And we spoke about how HTML just gives a structure, and CSS is like a painter or maybe a styler that makes it look more beautiful, look more presentable. Alright, so today I'm going to try to cover the whole of HTML so that my co-lead, the co-lead, can take over CSS and we can speed things up. Alright, so we spoke about HTML, hypertext markup language. Now let's be clear, what's a markup language? A markup language is a language that has elements, or say it has tags, or whatever, it has elements inside the language that tells the machine that will present it how the thing should look like. You get what I'm saying? It has elements inside that tells the machine what something should look like. So the language detects the structure. Alright, so that's what HTML is. HTML detects or describes the structure of a web page. Alright. So it consists of elements represented by tags. And then we spoke about the HTML general structure. Yeah. I didn't mention doc type, but it's not really essential for HTML file to work. Consider our HTML file worked even without doc type. But doc type is just telling you that this file you're about to enter is an HTML file, which is the same thing that the HTML tag does. Alright, so let me display the structure of HTML. Alright. Alright, so we have this. This is the basic structure of an HTML file. Yeah, the doc type, HTML, head, in this order. And I forgot to mention that HTML works with the is it the FIFO? Should I call it FIFO? No, Philo. It's a concept in Stack, but we use the idea. If a tag starts, if you start with a tag, there's a tag 1, and tag 1 is outside. Alright, let me delete this. You put another tag inside, tag 2. Tag 2 has to close first before tag 1 can close. Alright, do you get the point? So the fact that tag 1 came first means that tag 1 will close last. That's what I'm saying. So first to enter, the first tag to enter will be the last tag to go out. So you get what I'm saying? So that's why HTML enters first, but it goes out last. Every other tag inside it has to go out first before the one that owns it close out, just like a normal parenthesis. Alright, so let's move on from there. Okay, so HTML head elements. We'll talk about HTML head elements. Okay, so we move on to talk about metadata. So I said metadata, meta tag. Meta tag gives metadata about the document, about the web page that you are on. So they use a meta tag to set the viewport. Use meta tag to give extra information to the search engine. So there are various uses of meta tag, and we're going to cover that in a very short time, probably in 1 minute. So let's quickly cover meta tag, and then we go through link tag, the script tag, the style tag. Yeah, and we won't touch on the base tag, and then we just move forward from there. Okay, so speaking of metadata, the basic syntax of speaking of metadata, basic syntax of a metadata is the name the name has a content here, and you have the content. So this is the basic syntax of a metadata. So the things you can do with metadata, you can specify the character set in the metadata. So it tells the website, the characters that you use all through your web page, maybe different characters from different languages, or maybe symbols and everything. So you can specify it in your metadata, or you can give it on viewports. Yeah, viewports. That means you're telling it the to take the user screen at every moment. Content, just set it to width, device width, initial scale equals to 1.0. So you can also do this in your metadata. Also, you can do description. You can give your page a description. all these things will not appear in the web page, but in your search engine, when someone tries to search, it's part of the things that get picked up by the search engine. So that's most of it for metadata. There are many other things you can do. Not even many, but there are a lot of things you can do with metadata. But we'll let us stop here and move on to link. All right. Okay, so we're done with meta tag and we'll move on to the link tag. The link tag is it shows relationship between the HTML file and other resources, external resources. So the link tag is used to link external resources, relationship between the HTML file and external resources. So you can use it to link favicon, you can use it to link your CSS file, you can use it to fetch fonts from Google or maybe any other site. You can use link tag for a lot of things. As you proceed with what do you call it, with your construction, should I call it your construction, your design, start discovering that you can use the link tag to do a whole lot other things. But for now, I want to speak about the basic syntax of link tag. So for the link tag, just like this, is also a self-closing tag. It doesn't have a closing tag at the end, this closing slash at the end, but just like this. So it carries the relationship rel, and then it carries the reference, hypertext reference. I think that's what it should mean, but it carries the reference. So now the relationship will tell relationship with the file, and this one will usually carry the link to that place that is trying to get it from. So for example, if you are dealing with style sheets, it will be style sheets. The relationship with this file is style sheets, and the link will be the link to the style sheet file if it exists. So this is how link tag works with CSS style sheets. So over time we use link tag for a whole lot of other things, but let us stop here and move on to the next tag. Okay, before we proceed to the style tag, let's treat the script tag. So the script tag embeds or references JavaScript code. It embeds or references JavaScript code. So usually you have your JavaScript code in another file, alright, when you're trying to do front-end development. So you use the script tag to call the code into the head tag, and that code will be used to do the functions on your page. You can also call a script tag inside the body, or you can call inside the head, anyone you choose. So alright, so let's talk about the script tag. Let's talk about the script tag. Use the script tag to fetch JavaScript code, to reference JavaScript code. Alright, so for the script tag, so the script tag follows the syntax, the script, then the source, then that's all you need. So the source tells where you are getting the file from. So it can be script .js. If the file exists, it fetches it and uses it. So that's how the script tag works. It's actually nice and very fast. Moving on to the style tag. We're not going to talk about the style tag a lot here, because I'm not even going to actually dive into the style tag at all, because style tag is related to CSS. So when the code lead is taking CSS, it's going to mention the style tag. Alright, but the style tag is also part of the tags that are inside the head, and they don't display on the page. Alright, so let's just move on to the next part of this. So HTML formatting tag. So we have the header tag. We spoke about the header tag already. The paragraph tag. I mentioned the break tag. The break tag is not necessary when you're using the CSS, but it's very, very necessary. You can use the break tag, but when you start using CSS to style, the use becomes less functional or less popular. Then we have the horizontal rule for a line. Then we have the strong, bold. All these ones are not conventional again. The strong and the bold, because you can use your CSS to style your text to be strong or bold. Then emphasize, italicize, all these things you can use your CSS to style it. But then it's also good to note them, because they're very useful. Alright, so HTML elements for grouping content. So when you're trying to, like, how do we say this, just like I gave the analogy of a building. Alright, so you're trying to, like, create a building. So imagine you have a house, all these regular apartments, and then you have like multiple apartments in one single building. So one apartment, like a room and a room self-contained or whatever, maybe parlor, everything. So that one does need an apartment. Then we have another one. So that with those components, I mean the room, the living room, the toilet, the kitchen, they're now grouped into sections, calling it apartments. So that we're talking about here. So we use div uh, I wish all these things can just like have a full meaning, but I like to just like give it a full meaning myself. I call it division. All right. So it's trying to like divide the page into sections. All right. That was I call it division. So you're trying to divide the whole thing as a whole into sections and make your page look better. You can maybe you can have something at the sidebar, so have something at the header, something like that. So that was use div for. You have span. You can put span within your paragraph tag. We're going to talk about them now. We're going to see how they are used in it in in the HTML code. The span, you can put span in the paragraph tag in case you want to like give special attention to a part of the paragraph, but you don't want to give it everything. So you can have the header, you can have the footer, the main section, article, aside, semantic and semantic elements. All right. So header is for maybe you want to add an header. You don't necessarily have to use header to take the header, but you can use header. You have footer. You have main like the main section of your page. Makes sense. Then you have section, like maybe you divide your page into sections. Then you have article, maybe you like you fetch an article from somewhere and you want to add it to your page. Then aside, you can use aside for sidebar. All right. So these are those major tags for grouping content. And we're going to talk about let's say we're going to talk about div. I'm going to focus on div, span, and then section, maybe main, because they are important elements. But if you see them, just know that they're used for grouping. All right. So now let's talk about the div tag and the rest of the tags. Okay, okay. So speaking on grouping tags, this is a my page here. All right. So inside my body tag, note that when we're talking about this grouping tags now, we've entered the body. We're no longer in the head. We're now in the body of the document, and this part of the document gets displayed on your screen. It gets displayed on the website. So now the header tag is not, it's not necessarily that when you want to have an header in your page, you use the header tag, but it is one of the tags that you can use to group elements, and it actually makes your code more readable. Should I say more readable? Yeah, because when the person gets there, instead of using div to represent or maybe the header of your document, if you use header to represent it, someone that is trying to read your HTML file knows that okay, this part is meant to be the header, it's meant to include the header, and then or maybe it's footer, it's meant to include the footer, or maybe it's the main part of the file, maybe it's another section, maybe it's a div. All right. So it is just for human readability. All right. So you have the header tag, and maybe you can choose this is our header. You can not only do this, you can put other sorry, you can put other things inside. You can put a paragraph inside. You can put another grouping tag inside. All right. You can put another grouping tag inside. Anyhow you want to do it. So this header, the header tag, is grouping everything under it, the paragraph and the div element. All right. So this is the header tag majorly. It's used to section the page, and then we can have the main part of the file, which is the main tag. But before I go to the main tag, let's try to display this on our page. So I hope you have installed what do you call this thing, live server. I said in last class that you can install live server, and then you wouldn't have to stress yourself, something like that. So I'm using live server, then open with live server. Then let's see. All right. So this is everything inside it. You can see what it's looking like. This is header, this is a header, this is a div, and it's everything that was inside the header tag, and they're together. All right. So I think I mentioned attributes, yeah, in the last class. So let us give this thing an attribute in a style. Let's give it a background color red. So when you give this a background color red, if you look at the file, everything inside the header tag should have a red color. All right. So you see that's grouped everything red. All right. So that is how grouping tags work. So let's talk about the main tag. So the main tag, I've already spoken that these tags are not really, they're just majorly for human readability, but it's also conventional to use them. All right. So you can put a grouping tag in another grouping tag. So you just use this grouping tag to separate your pages into section. All right. So now let's look at this paragraph tag. All these tags do the same thing. They're just group tags. All right. So division is just like div is just like division of the page. All right. So paragraph. This is a paragraph. So if I want to use a span, I mentioned that you put span within a paragraph. If I want to use a span here, I can put. You can actually use span as you like, but I usually use span within a paragraph, maybe within an header tag. Maybe I want to like make a particular section different from the rest or something like that. So I can just set span around this paragraph. All right. So now, if I give this a particular style, it sections this whole paragraph as a whole tag. All right, and then it stands out. All right. So let's look at it. Yeah. So you can see this part of the span has a different color from the paragraph part. So this is what they call grouping tags. You can use grouping tags to group other grouping tags. So that's majorly how grouping tags work. So we're done with grouping tags. So let's speak about this A. This A basically is anchor tag. Yeah, the name is there already. Anchor tag used for hyperlinks. Alright. Hyperlinks in the sense that you're adding a link to an HTML file, and then when you tap it, it moves from that file into another file. If you understand what I mean, is either it moves from another file, it moves from that page, that web page, to a different web page on another site, or maybe it moves from that web page to another page within your website, or it moves from one section of a page to another section of a page, like a bookmark. So let's speak about the anchor tag for hyperlinks. All right. So anchor tag syntax is just like every other syntax. Is anchor tag. Let me take this out. Okay. This is the anchor tag. So it takes the H reference, hypertext reference. Let me just say hypertext reference, and then you put the link in this place. Alright, the link to the file, and then you put a content here, a link to a page or anything. So on the web page, you will see link to page. Yeah, link to page of this form. So once you tap it, it goes to this referenced link that you have added to the anchor tag. All right, so you can use this for id, you can use this for by id, I mean, you can use it to do bookmarking of your page. You know, maybe you tap what do you call this thing, you tap a particular in your page, maybe you have a content page, like content page, so you tap a topic and it moves to that part of the page. So that's how the anchor tag works. It has a whole lot of uses. You can use the anchor tag for a lot of things. All right, it's very important in HTML. Another thing that the anchor tag has is target. All right, it has the target attributes. Yeah, let me call it target attributes. So target attributes, by target attribute, we mean that blank, we have parent, we have self, and we have top. All right, so blank, for blank, it means that you want this link to be opened in another tab. All right, for parent, you want it to be opened in a previous tag, like the parent tab, and then for self, you want it to be opened in that particular tab. So we're going to test all the tabs. Let's test the blank first, and instead of this, let's put the link to an original site. Let's say Facebook. Remember, you are trying to use the anchor tag. Sorry, let me use this site. Okay, all right, so this is one of site. Okay, let's use the site. All right, let's use the site. So now we're going to check it. Let's close the tab in this place, and let's see how it works. Okay, so when we tap this link, we expect it to go to this site on a blank page. All right, let's go. It opens a new tab and it opens the link on a blank page. So now let's test the parent tag. If there's no parent page, you should do a self, or you should open a blank. Let's see what it does. But the parent means that it opens a tab, the parent tab. That's the tab before this main tab. All right, so let's test it. Okay, so it does itself because there's no parent tab before this tab. It defaults to self. Alright, so let's try the self. I think we already know what the self tag will do, but let's just try it. Okay, yeah, it opens in the tab that we are currently. So that is it. Let's see what the top. I think this top should default to the self tag. Let's see. Yeah, it defaulted to the self tag. All right, so that's all for anchor tag, but I would like to make a description of how it works. I'm going to pour a whole lot of lorem ipsum here. Lorem ipsum is just something that we use to like take space on the page. So don't bother about this. Let's get it on your own page. I'm trying to test the anchor tag using bookmark. Alright. Using bookmark so we can have a scroll up. Oh, I don't think we have enough text. Let's see. Is it enough? Okay, let me just try to increase my width. Okay. So I'm going to add a an ID. I'm going to add an ID to this. Let me see. Let me call this place div. Okay, so I majorly want to show you how the link tag, the anchor tag works like a bookmark. All right, so I'm going to create a div now, and I'm going to give it it will be another content. All right, the div will be another content, but I'm going to give it an ID. All right, we already spoke about ID. It's one of the attributes that the tag can carry. So I'm going to give it an ID. Let me say bookmark. I'll give it an ID bookmark. All right. So let me give it a style so it can have a different color. Yeah, so it can have a different color and we can spot it. Alright, so we're giving it an ID bookmark. In order to use this thing on the HTML page, alright, so we're going to, like, inside this link tag, instead of putting a link to a page, we're going to put hashtag and the name of the ID bookmark. Alright, so we're going to put hashtag bookmark. So when a user taps on this link, it runs from where the page is currently and comes down to this bookmark. Alright, so let's put this bookmark on top here to allow this thing to show properly. Alright, so now let's check our page. So this is what we have, and this is our link here. So when we tap it, you see it runs down to the bookmark side. Can you see it? So we tap it, it runs down to the part of the page. So that is how anchor tag works. Alright, so HTML list is used to add list to the what do you call it, to the page. Yeah, alright, list of items on your page. Obviously we'll have pages where we have to list items. We're trying to like present, mostly we're trying to present a document, so obviously we're going to need lists when we're trying to present an HTML document. So this is what HTML list is for. So we can either have an unordered list. So another list in the sense that instead of having maybe A, B, C, or you have 1, 2, 3, there's no particular order to it. Maybe you just use bullets to count, or you use arrows to count. You understand what I'm saying? Alright, so that's what another list is for. But for ordered list uses the A, B, C, or use the 1, 2, 3, or any of that kind of a thing. So another list and ordered list. Then we also have li tag, which is the list item tag. It's not listed here, but we have the li tag. Alright, so now let's talk about the another list and the ordered list. So the tag for the unordered list, we have your unordered list. Now this one tells you that the list you're about to enter now is an unordered list. That means it doesn't have number 1 or number 2 number in it. It probably uses bullets. So li means list item. Alright, so you can have goat, you can have another list item, cow, you can have chicken. Maybe you're just taking a list of animals, then when you check your page, see we're using bullets to list it. But if it was meant to, if it was on an ordered list, it was an ordered list. Alright, we're going to be having some numbering 1, 2, 3. So that's the difference between an ordered list and unordered list. Alright, so you can also have a list inside a list. Alright, so you can put a list inside a list, more like a sub list. You understand what I mean? Be like a sub list under another list. So that is all for HTML list. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to HTML tables, all right. So what is the table tag for? We are trying to draw a table on your page, on your HTML page. You use the table tag. Use table tag to draw a table. Well, no, okay. Let us move on from there. We use HTML tag. We have to use the table tag to draw a table because we sometimes going to need table on our pages. I know we have been on different sites and we have seen tables on pages before. So we use the table tag to build tables on pages. And it's also fair to note that when you're filling up a table in your HTML tag, we're filling it by cells. We start from the first row to the next row, and each of those row is filled by cells, like cell. It is taken as cells, data cells. You know what a data cell is? If you look at an Excel page, all those boxes, they are called cells. Alright, so when you're trying to fill up a table in HTML, you are filling it like as if you are filling up cells on the table, and it fills up row by row. So after the first row, you move on to the next row, to the next row. So you can't fill it in column form, you have to fill it as a row, complete a row, up to the next row, then to the next row, then to the next row. So that's how table tag works. So let us effect it on our page, table tag. Alright, so let's have a table. Alright, so a table tag. And inside a table, we want to take care of the first table row. Or first, let's take the table heading. Timetable, or let's see, table 8. Table 8. Alright, so we have table row, the first table row. So we fill the cells, each cells one by one. Alright, inside table row we have table D, which means table data. Table data, so table data represents each cell that will be inside this table row. So we can have the first cell containing civic education, and the next cell containing maths, and the next cell containing basic science. Alright, so this fills up for the first row. So let's check what it looks like on our table. So we can see what it looks like here. We have the table head, timetable, we have civic, math, basic science. The basic science is not separated. It's just the way it's styled up in this page, but it's not separated. Alright. Okay. So from here, if we want to fill up to the next column, we have to like create another table row inside the table and then start filling up the next column. Maybe for the next day, maybe we have social studies, whatever. Maybe we have biology, see, then chemistry. So we have this. If we check back on our table, we see that we are going to have social, biology, chemistry. So this is how you build a table, in HTML. Alright, so there's cell spacing, cell padding, and I don't want to talk about this one because most of these things will be styled using comment. Most of this will be styled using CSS. See, it's not in convention anymore. It's not in convention anymore. So it's not coming out as a suggestion on the page. So use CSS to style the table. Alright, so that is all for the table tag. So we have the table head, we have the table as a whole that covers the whole thing, swallows the whole content. We know that we fill our table each by each row, and each of the row will have a table data, which is the cells. So that's how we fill up the table, and that is all for the table tag. Okay, so moving on to the one of the most important parts of HTML, because what is our page useful for? Yeah, we have a lot of pages that don't really take input from users. All right, so you just read on the page and then you just go. But then forms and inputs are one of the most important things in HTML. In fact, in programming as a whole, relating to the user, like the user trying to communicate with the site and the site replying back to the user, like dynamic. That means when a user makes an input, it affects the document as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? So HTML forms and inputs is very important. All right, I've gotten there. So what is a form? we have filled form before. So when you get a form, when you're given a form, maybe a form to apply for something, you fill the form and then you submit back to them. That's the basic operation of a form in HTML. So we present a form to the user fills it and then submit back to us. The form can be what do you call it? It can be the login, it can be sign up, it can maybe you're trying to get their email for a newsletter, it can be any form of thing, maybe the Google form that we all fill, maybe you are doing a test and you're putting all these inputs in your Google form. It's also part of a form, you press submit and it submits and everything. So HTML tag form handles this kind of a thing. Alright, so we're going to look at the form and we have the various elements that under it. We have the input field, alright, under the form. So this is where the user puts the things that he wants to a space for the user to input something. So you put it there, the input field. Text area is just like an input field but larger. It allows for multi-line, alright, multi-line text input. Then we have the button tag. I said button tag, yeah, button tag. Alright, so use button tag to do JavaScript functions. Maybe you want to do a function with JavaScript and you just tap it and then it responds, it calls the function, JavaScript function. Or you can use it to submit your form. So button tag, you can use it basically to run a JavaScript function, or you can use it to submit, or you can use it to link to another page. Alright, so we have the select and we have the option. Select tag is used maybe you want to create a drop down or different options that the user might want to pick and you don't want the user to come up with his own what do you call it, inputs. So use the select tag. And then we have the label tag. The label tag is used to label inputs or label text area and stuff like that, or label select. Alright, so let's talk about the form tag. Okay, so alright, speaking of the form tag, so this is how the form tag looks like. Form, action, and then the method. Form, action, and method. This is the basic syntax of your form tag. So this action is where you want to send the form to. Basically, it describes where you send, usually a link. Maybe you're sending to a PHP file, for example. Maybe say you're sending to submit.php. maybe you're using PHP for backend. So the action tag is like sending into that direction. Alright, then the method tag is the method you want to use to send it. You can either use the get method or use the post method. And let's speak about the get method and the post method. Now for the get method, the get method, alright, when you're using the get method to send something, as the name implies, you're trying to get something from the backend. Alright, so using the get method means you're trying to get something from backend. Usually used when you're using when you're doing search on a page, search query on a page. Then you use the get method because of the alright, the sensitivity of the get method. The thing about get method is that when you use the get method to submit a form, it displays the content of your form in the link to the next page. Alright, so when you use the get method to submit something, it displays the content of your form on the link or the page or the link to the next page that is going to submit it. Now the problem with this is that you cannot use get method when you're trying to like submit maybe a login form. Imagine you're trying to log into a site and then you have your username and your password displaying on the link, and let's say you just tap login and then you left to come back. Maybe your internet is slow, so you just left to come back and maybe see, maybe it has gone, and then your friend, just maybe a stranger, just come to the screen and they can see your username and your password. It makes no sense. So get method is majorly used when you're trying to do a search query, when you're trying to like pick something from the something, not like you're trying to submit something to the server or to the backend. So just like the name implies, get, you're trying to get something. But the other method, which is post, the post method won't display the password on the link. So as name implies, to post something, so it's sensitive. It understands the sensitivity of data, and then it doesn't display your form content on the link of the submission. So that's the difference between get and post, and understanding which one to use is very important. You don't use get when you're trying to submit a security conscious form, something like something that needs to be protected. You don't use get to submit it, use post. But then when you're just trying to do a search query, a quick search query, you use the get method. Alright, so this is the basic structure of a form tag. Yeah, so the action. Okay, now inside the form tag, alright, so we can have the input tag, and the input tag can come with various types. All right, to be clear. So these are the various types that input tag can come with. It can come with type text, it can come with type email, it can come with type password, checkboxes, radio, button, number. It depends on what you're trying to get from the user. All right, if you're just trying to get a text like it doesn't have any sensitivity, you try to say no, no, no. It can have a name, but maybe it's not specified. Maybe you're trying to get the address of the user. All right, so you can just use the text tag and just get the address. So that's how the text tag works. So if you see text, you see the input, this is the input place here. You can just put like anything inside this text tag. All right, or you can have an email tag. All right, you can have an email tag. The thing about email tag is that if the user's input is not an email, it will not accept it. This is okay if you're trying. Okay, this saves your backend a lot of stress. You can also use JavaScript to validate this type of things. You use JavaScript to confirm the validation, but it's always best when you're trying to take email input to use email type. So at that point, it actually validates ahead. All right. So if I put something that's not an email, and I try to submit, there's no submit button here. It will tell me that this thing is not an email and should come with something like this, air.com. So this is the type of thing to accept if you're using the email tag. All right, so let me just put a button there and see. Input type submit. Let me see. Okay, it's not. Okay, so you can see it now. Please include an @ in the email address. This thing is missing an @ so if I put @ there, so you say enter a path following @ to make it complete, and then it accepts that this email is correct. So you see that this kind of thing now, it is dummy. Like, it was able to check for the @, it was able to check for extra text that in front, but then this is not a valid email. All right, and we need JavaScript to confirm some other things, because some people can try to use malicious ways to get to your backend. So JavaScript also validates email, but it's always best to use the email tag like this, type email. And then you can have password. As you expect from password, it's just for sensitivity of passwords. So you have your text blinded like this, so no one can see it while you're typing. You have checkboxes or checkbox. Yeah, you have checkbox. So checkbox is just a box, and then you yourself add the content to the front of the checkbox, and that checkbox represents that content. So what that content, we can add the checkbox. So checkbox can come with a name. Usually you set the name of a checkbox to be an array. You can say maybe boxes, because when you're using checkbox, it means that you can take multiple input at the same time. And checkbox does not come with placeholder. Checkbox comes with a value. So you can give it a value, balls. You can have balls in the back. So anytime the user taps this, it stores balls inside boxes. So you can say balls for this. All right. So when the user sees this, these balls and picks balls, you get what I'm saying? All right, you can check. So that's how checkboxes work. So you can have multiple of these with the same name boxes. So when they are trying to take the multiple checkbox, let's do this. So maybe we have balls, eggs, and dolls. So when the user clicks on this, I'm not change the okay. So when the user clicks on each of them, yeah, balls, eggs, dolls. So it stores balls inside the array boxes, eggs inside the array boxes, dolls inside it. Remove dolls, it removes dolls from it. Remove egg, it removes egg from it. Remove balls, it removes balls from it. So that's how the checkbox tag works. So let's move on to the radio tag. The difference between a checkbox and a radio is that checkbox allow for multiple inputs. but radios do not allow for multiple inputs. All right, you can only pick one at a time. That's the thing about radio. Yeah. So button, let's check the type. Button. Okay, so it just needs to be a button that does something. Maybe it's a button that submits. I can add the JavaScript function to it. All right, so that's input button, and then we can have number. All right, so we can have number 78. It takes only number. If you try to put letters there, it will not take letter inside anything, just numbers. All right, so you can use this thing to increment and decrement for number input. And one other thing that comes to number input is an attribute max. If you don't want it to go above 10, an attribute mean, you don't want to go below 0. So whatever the user tries to input, if it's not within that range, it rejects it. Value must be greater than or equal to 0. Alright, so if I put 20, value must be less than or equal to 10. So that's how the logic works. And if you try to use this wheel to take it below 0, it won't allow you. If you try to use the wheel to take it above 10, it will not allow you. So that's one of the attributes of the number, type of inputs. So the next one we have is text area. Alright, so I said about text area that text area is just another input box that allows for multi-line inputs. Alright, that allows for multi-line inputs. The text area, you can drag it like so, you can like input a whole amount of things. That's the thing about text area, you can like input a long document inside the text area. So that's why you can sometimes use text area compared to inputs. It has its use. Maybe they ask you for a description. Alright, if you have filled a LinkedIn profile before, there'll be a space for description. That's the text area that allows for multi-line inputs. Alright, so after text area, what else do we have? We have the okay, I think we spoke about buttons already. We also use the normal button tag to do your submission. Let's check the other options we have here. Alright, so we have the select. Okay, let's talk about the select tag and then the label tag. Alright, for the select tag, use select tag to create multiple options. It comes with a name, it comes with a name and ID. Alright, so inside the select tag, you put your options. Your first option is maybe, let's say, select bags, something like that, and then the rest of the options can be maybe Emmys. You can put Emmys, you can put Gucci. Alright, so the select tag. So select bags and you have the option to pick Emmys. You can pick Gucci. So that is how the select tag works. I said it's just like a drop down of options. You must have seen this before. So that's how the select tag works. Now for labels are very, very important. Now look at what we just did here. We have a bunch of inputs that we are taking in this particular page, and none of them have a name, none of them have a label, none of them have anything they're doing. Like even if a user just sees this, he doesn't know what he's trying to do. Alright, so we can use label and placeholders to give identity to a an input tag inside the form or inside the select tag or any other thing. So for example, now I can give input type text. I can say I want to give it a placeholder. Let's remove min and max. Let's talk about text. Give it a placeholder, your name. So inside the text box, where is it? Something is wrong. Okay, I already given the values your balls. So value balls. Yeah. Let's check. So the placeholder is your name. Alright. Or I can use a label tag. This is where label tag comes in. So I can do a label All right, label tag. So label 4. Now this input part of the 4 carries the ID of that cell you're trying to recognize, the cell you're trying to identify. For example, let's try to identify this input tag. So we give it an ID. We can give it an ID boxes. All right. So 4, we can say 4 boxes. Get the point? Can be 4 boxes. So from this idea, we can see that the label tag can work like how do we call it, the anchor tag. All right. So let's say the label is boxes. Alright, so we check the page, we see that it has a label boxes, and then it has the input directly. So these boxes is identifying this thing. If I tap the boxes, it opens, it automatically moves into the input I want it to represent. That is 4 boxes 4. So that is the basic function of the label tag, and that is all for forms. Yeah. Okay, so on final notes on HTML for Skillsphere, all right, we are going to talk about HTML further in CSS, and we are working with JavaScript. We're going to be working with HTML, but like HTML as a topic itself. So this will be the final place. This is where we are stopping on HTML as a topic itself, or as a class itself. All right, so we talk about the media element, the audio tag, the video tag, the source tag, the track tag. I won't be practicing with it because of time constraints, alright? But I just want to let you know that these tags exist and how they actually function in your HTML file. Now, like I mentioned before, that HTML file does not have any multimedia placed within it, alright? So you cannot carry a photo and paste it inside an HTML file. An HTML file can only reference multimedia files. It can only reference JavaScript files, can only reference maybe link style sheets. So these things cannot be how do I say it? Styles can be put into it because they're for styling the page. I'm talking about multimedia in general. Actually, multimedia only. Alright, because you can put JavaScript also inside HTML file. So multimedia only. You can't put multimedia inside an HTML file. An HTML file can only reference the multimedia. Alright, that's why when you're using the image tag, it's not like I said we pasted the image there, we used the image, and then we use the source src to fetch the image from the location where it is. So that's how HTML works. All right, so even if you're trying to like embed an audio, then like I see you're copying the audio there, you put the audio tag and then you put a link to the audio something. If it's a video, put the video tag, then a link to the video, then source, then track, and that's how it works. All right, so that brings an end to HTML media elements. So let's quickly talk about the HTML attribute before we close. Global attribute, I spoke about ID already, class, style, title, then lang like language. All right, so title tag is the one that appears on top of the page, like Facebook. When you load the Facebook page, you have Facebook showing on top. I mentioned it in the last class. All right, so they call it the global attribute tag because all right, yeah, so move on to the boolean attributes. So boolean attributes, you have disabled, checked, and read only. All right, so maybe you don't want it to be editable or maybe copyable or something like that, use the read only. Then checked, maybe there's in checkboxes and the user has clicked it, so you have to check, you have to like you're trying to tell the document to check whether it has been clicked or something like that. All right, disabled, when you tap a button, all right, and the button does the function, the button is disabled for that moment while that function is running. All right, so that's to check disabled. So if it's true, that means the something is already running. Then event attributes, is mainly for JavaScript monitor all these things. So when we get to JavaScript, we talk about on click, on mouse over, on change, and many other attributes. So that brings an end to the HTML class. All right, so best attributes, use semantic tags for clarity. Like I said, maybe you're using header tag, right? Use header tag when you're trying to create an header on your page. It makes your code readable. Yeah, all right, makes it clear. So you keep your code indented and readable. Use alt text for images. Alt text are very important in the case where people or maybe the site is not loaded properly and the image is not fetched. The alt is seen there, or maybe someone is using a reader like an audio reader to read your site. The audio reader will pick the alt on the page, but if you don't put the alt there, it skips it, and that is not nice at all. So you have to consider people that maybe they can't actually see, but they use audio readers to read your page. So the thing just tells them that okay, this particular photo that was here is actually meant to be the picture of a flying kangaroo. You understand what I'm saying? So you can also update your HTML for validate your HTML for errors, best practices. And that is the end of the class. Thank you.